Hey everybody, Peter B. Welcome to another edition of Tobacco Card Tuesday. It is absolutely a lovely day here in southern New England. Blue skies, no wind, the nice green grass and the green on the trees. Very similar to a day Friday, May 16th, 1902. On that day, there was a lot of festivities around in Cincinnati because they were doing a ceremonial opening of their brand new ballpark called Palace of the Fans. They actually started play there on April 17th, but they wanted to have these ceremonial festivities in a little bit warmer weather, so they waited until May 16th, 1902, and they got their wish. Their old ballpark, called League Park, burned down in 1900. And in the same location, they built up this new Palace of the Fans. The owner, John T. Brush, brought in a lot of architects. He wanted to make the park have very fancy, luxurious sections to draw the more wealthy crowds. They even had little garages for their horse-drawn carriages, or some of them even for their brand new horseless carriages. They could park there right on the site where the park was. And they also had viewing for the less wealthy people. And they wanted everyone just to come to the park and have a great time. This is the park. I printed a picture off the internet. And you see the Corinthian columns. There were 22 Corinthian columns. They got the idea from the World's Fair, the Chicago World's Fair in 1993. Inspired these, you got architects that were inspired by the World's Fair for these Corinthian columns. And on the very top, you see Cincinnati. So, brand new ballpark. Everyone's having a great time. There was all kinds of music and food, and of course, all the Ohio government people had to make their speeches. And the game started. It was the Cincinnati Reds hosting the New York Giants. Top of the first inning, the Reds got a hit, but didn't score. The bottom of the first, a very historic moment happened, although hardly anyone even knew. Most of the baseball writers didn't even know. There was one newspaper, I forget the name of it, that did acknowledge that in the next day's newspaper. I'm sure all the fans, or most of the fans, didn't know. But on the mound, bottom of the first inning, was a young pitcher, Luther Taylor. He was a pitcher just starting his career. He would become a very good pitcher and be in the same pitching rotation as Christy Mathewson and Iron Man Joe McGinty. The three of them made a formidable rotation for the early New York Giants, John McGraw's New York Giants. He was on the mound. On the plate, first batter for the Cincinnati Reds was Billy Hoy. He was a very fast center fielder. He would actually play shallow because he could catch any ball hit over his head, and he would easily snare line drives before they bounced. And he threw out in one single game 3 players at home plate. I think that's still a record. Very fast on the base pass. He would steal a lot. Very good contact hitter. Didn't hit a lot of home runs, but in those days, dead ball era, the leagues were huge. The parks were huge, and most of the home runs were of the inside the park variety. So this young player is up at bat. Young, actually old. He's in the last stage. I think 1902 is the last year he played. So he was in the final stages of a very good baseball career. Well, a little bit about Billy Hoy and Luther Taylor. Brand new book written about them. I just got it. I'm into the first 3 chapters, and so far I like it. It tells about that day that I'm telling you about. The first time these two met in a baseball game. The pitcher, Luther Taylor, and the batter, the center fielder, Billy Hoy. And it tells about their disabilities and what it was like in the early 1900s. And first it goes into a little biography about Hoy, and then later about Taylor. So what's so unusual about Hoy and Taylor? And isn't this called Tobacco Card Tuesday? Well, yes it is. But you see, Billy Hoy is Dummy Hoy. He would also be on the he started on the Washington team. See Hoy center field. And Dummy Hoy was a deaf player. He wasn't born deaf, but he had spinal meningitis, which a lot of kids apparently did in those days, according to the book, and lost his hearing. So Billy or William Dummy Hoy. Now, dummy wasn't considered like it is today. I wouldn't call anyone dummy because they were deaf and mute. It was just in baseball, especially just the nickname. Like anyone with American Indian blood was named Chief. Things like that. So this is an 1888 N172 Old Judge of outfielder William Dummy Hoy. Real good baseball player. He was probably, he definitely was the best deaf baseball player. Now, there were a few of them in those days, but he was definitely the best. Deaf people looked up to him for encouragement. If he could accomplish this, they could accomplish things they want to do in life as well. So he's at bat, bottom of the first inning, first batter. And for the first time ever, he's going up against Luther Dummy Taylor. And like I mentioned, part of the 3 pitching rotation for John McGraw's Giants in the early 1900s. Christy Mathewson, Iron Man McGinty, and him. This is the T206. It has a Piedmont back, if anyone's interested. And I love shots showing their equipment. To me, that is a very cool glove that they used back then. Big opening where your hand is. They have a button strap. So Luther Dummy Taylor. And almost the same cards they use on the book. Just a different old judge. And it looks like a reprint. It's an original. So like I said, I'm 3 chapters in. I'm liking it so far. Now, let me tell you about Mr. Hoy. Billy Hoy, he played 14 years from 1888 to 1902. So when they first met in that day in Cincinnati of the ceremonial open of the new ballpark, he was in his final year playing. Very good hitter. Not for power, but for hits. He has 2,048 hits. 40 home runs, and most of them were inside the park. He had 1,006 stolen bases and a 288 batting average. Great range in center field. Like I said, he played shallow to cut off a lot of line drives. Fantastic arm. And like I said, he threw out 3 players at the plate in a single game. And a very good base steal, a great speed on the bases. Now, Hoy didn't invent the umpire hand signals, but he did request that the umpires made some kind of signal for ball and strike and safe and out. That was the only way he could keep track. When batting, he can keep track of how many balls and how many strikes he had, as well as playing in the outfield. He'll be able to know how many outs there were. So he got the umpires, when he was playing, to use hand signals. Other deaf players wanted the same thing later, using hand signals. And eventually it was put into baseball. I think it says in the book for the 1904 World Series, but don't quote me on that. And then from then on, it's been a rule. Luther Dummy Taylor played 9 years, 1900 to 1908. So he was just starting a career. Didn't have a great career like Billy Hoy, but he had a very good career. He played for early John McGraw's Giants and part of that fantastic starting rotation. He has a 116 and 106 1-loss record, 2.75 ERA, and 767 Ks. So here is Mr. William Hoy, and Mr. Luther Taylor on Tobacco Card Tuesday. And like I said, I just got this from Amazon. I did go to my local bookstore and check. They didn't have a copy, and they could order one for me, but I wanted to get reading. So I did order from Amazon, the big mean company. But here it is. And like I said, I'm only 3 chapters in, but if you want to learn more about these 2 players or what it was like being deaf in the early 1900s, this is the book. So everybody, I hope you enjoy a very terrific Tobacco Card Tuesday. Thank you.